All right, now I'm really excited to introduce Jennifer Davey. Many of you already know Jen for her work at the Clyfford Still Museum, and you may also know that she's an incredible artist. So Jennifer Davey is a contemporary abstract painter, an avid fan of Clyfford Still. She's been involved with the museum since opening day. Her work is deeply impacted by Still's trailblazing path to abstraction, and now more than ever, she sees the importance of abstract painting to point us inward to find inner strength, resilience, and humanity. Her studio is at Artworks Center of Contemporary Art in Loveland, Colorado, which is where she's going to be joining us from today. Jennifer Davey's work is held in the collections, both private and public, and has exhibited both regionally and nationally. In 2018, she was accepted into the 3-year painting mentorship program at Anderson Ranch, studying with contemporary artist Enrique Martinez Celaya. She completed her Bachelor of Fine Arts at Colorado State University in sculpture. So thank you so much for joining us today, Jen. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Welcome. Thank you so much for taking some time today to make some art and just enjoy a moment together across the nation. I'm watching where everybody is from, and it's incredible to see. I love this. So I'm coming from my studio and Artworks here in Loveland, and I am going to share with you just a little bit of the process that I've been using lately to make abstract drawings. And it's very flexible, so we can just enjoy making some art or watching together, and there's no serious rules. There's no way to fail. So I just hope that you enjoy this time that we have together. If you do have questions as we're working, feel free to either send your question in the chat box or unmute your mic and ask a question in the moment. That's totally fine. So as Nicole said, if you have paints, pastels, colors, crayons, anything, ideally you'll have a set of colors to work with, but if you don't, it's fine. If you have pencils or pens, then that will work just as well. And then of course, piece of paper, a couple of sheets of paper to work on. And maybe we're going to switch to the screen where I am showing materials. Yay, it works. And you can watch with me. We're going to do a couple of warm-up exercises and then a more official art making. So these exercises are just to get you warmed up and to get your mind thinking in colors and shapes. So usually what I like to do is set out, have my paper, I've got a pencil, and then my pastels just near me. And I also have a paper towel, which is easy to sort of clean things up if needed. So just kind of have your materials set out, ready to work. And then have this initial sheet of paper. And so what I'm going to have you do initially is start by making 8 kind of inch by inch squares on your paper. I'm going to do 4 and then 4 across. And this is a technique that actually Clyfford Still used a lot. He learned it at a very young age from a drawing book by John Ruskin. And it's kind of how he learned to draw, but having these little squares allowed him to capture either thumbnails or color ideas. And he used it throughout his whole life. And so I think it's a great idea, and it's kind of a good way to capture ideas. So that's where the inspiration for this comes from. So you have these squares, and then I want you to write words underneath from left to right is what I'm doing, but quiet, loud, rising, falling, balance, chaos, calm, and imbalance. So as you have those squares, now I want you to just take a few minutes and just use your pen or your pencil. You don't have to use colors yet, and make shapes or lines that fit the feeling of each word as you see fit. So we're just going to take a few moments to do that. Okay, so as you can see, each square is very different, and I'm sure that each of your squares are quite different. I wonder, let me just switch to my gallery view. Does anybody want to hold up just to the screen the things that you've been working on? Don't feel like you have to if you don't want to, but okay. We're gonna, so what I want you to think about this is how much a line can express different, very simple words. And so as we go to the next exercise, I want you to do this time 10 squares, and I'm going to do 5 and 5 across. And in this round, instead of using a pencil, I'm still going to put words underneath each square, but instead of filling it in with line work, I'm going to use color, okay? So from right to left, I'm going to do quiet again, loud, beautiful, strong, delicate, angry, spring, summer, fall, and winter. And so now in this case, instead of using a line, choose a color or a couple different colors to represent each word in each square. So as I'm going across, starting with quiet, I'm going to just do a gray, like gray rainy day, which is very much not like what it is in Colorado today. That's super hot. And so I'm going to use a couple different colors to fill in the square. You don't have to fill them in all of the way, but I'm going to go loud, and just whatever you think as far as colors that make you think of these words. Beautiful. I love blue. It's one of my favorite colors for sure. strong. I'm feeling like kind of the salt of the earth, deep brown. And it's kind of interesting, even I'm a little bit fascinated by what I choose and how different my marks become depending on the word. Like you really think of the power of word and color, both. And this is just to make you a little more aware. And you could also use this exercise if you wanted to observe colors out in the world. Um, that's what Clyfford Still would do. He would make these color palettes and go out and observe nature, and he would collect as it were in the squares different colors, and then he would use that later for his paintings. Summer, I just am looking these days as to how much green there is right now. So wonderful, even though it is dry outside in Colorado, but there's still so much green and it's awesome. Okay, and I have like quiet and winter will be almost the same. Have a ending and a beginning, which is kind of nice. I'm having a little bit of a moment that feels like Bob Ross was doing the things painting as everybody is watching, you know, makes me laugh. Anyway, so you can see all these different textures and colors, the things that you easily can use for your inspiration in future artworks. So we're going to do one more set of squares, and then we'll get going on a bigger piece and a little more time doing art making. And this time we're going to do a past and then a present. And what I want you to think about, and part of the reason I asked where you were from, both originally and also today, is to do, again, 5 squares across for the first exercise, and then 5 squares across for the second exercise. We're going to be ready for both and then just do them at the same time. So again, ultimately having 10 squares. And, you know, there's no reason this has to be a square. You could easily make it a circle or a triangle or whatever. But these first 5 squares are going to be colors you remember when you were a child. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. And then these are colors of where you live now. So, colors you remember. The first 5 colors, I want you to think about a moment in time. I feel like it's easiest if you remember something outside, a time when you had a really strong memory being outside. And if you could like pick 5 colors from that moment in time and just put them down in the squares, just the color palette of that memory. So I'm thinking about this time when I was walking, hiking, kind of, I don't remember if it was the Garden of the Gods. I'm from Colorado Springs. It was somewhere like that where the rocks were deep red, kind of like this burnt orange red. It's even maybe a little too dark right here. And I was with my cousins and we were just having so much fun hiking around, but a storm was coming in. And so I remember the bright orange of the rocks and then this deep gray and almost like a dark blue, you know, of the clouds. And it was summertime, so there also was a really vivid green in the landscape. So it was really kind of high contrast. I think those storms of the west, when they come in, it reminded me of that. That's not even the right green. It's more like this. And I can almost like feel the air as it was, you know, where the rain is about to come. It's really humid in the air, but also dry because it's Colorado. Anyway, so when I think of these memories, that memory in particular, I'm pulling these 5 colors. Okay. So now the next one, I want you to think about where you live now. And it could even be just this summer, you know, have you been outside recently and there's something that really grabs your attention. And so you can just think of that one scene and again, pluck those 5 colors out from this moment. And what I'm thinking about, there's a really beautiful open space right near where I live. And even though it's, there's a lot of green, there's also this straw grass kind of color. And then like a pale, almost a more vivid green. And that's not exactly right. I want to mix that green a little bit with something that's bright, but not quite as bright. And then there's the blue sky for sure. I mean, that's so Colorado. Bright blue sky. And I'm almost thinking at dusk, you know, sometimes, especially lately, there's been these cotton candy color clouds. And it's really amazing. So the pink seems a little out of context, but not entirely when you look at the clouds. So, and I think one other is just, again, this brown, earthy color. Kind of a mix. I'm going to mix all 3 and see what I get. If it's a little bit closer to, yeah, kind of. Okay. So now I have, these last exercises are what I really want you to focus on. The 5 colors from a memory that you have, or the 5 colors of a landscape that you are living in now. And I want you to use, I'm going to use it as inspiration to make the next piece. You don't feel obligated to use these. It's just kind of a jumping off point. You're welcome to use any color you like. But we're gonna, maybe I'm gonna pause for just a minute and see if there are any questions. And
We don't have any questions yet, Jen.
okay, you're good. All right, then I'm gonna just keep going. That's awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna just have this paper off to my side, and what I'm gonna do now is, instead of having those small squares, I'm gonna take my piece of paper and I'm gonna make a big square. Mine is gonna be about 7 inches large. And someone asked me why I've been making these drawings like you saw at the beginning of the talk here. And someone asked me, why am I making this square inside of a square rather than just using the entire piece of paper? And I can't really explain it beyond just somehow it makes sense to me to have this little border, and you can kind of work within that field, and it's already framed naturally once it's made. So if you are so inclined, make a little square that you can work within. And then So I'm going to use as inspiration the colors from my memory. And so I'm looking back to these 5 colors. And as I start, this would take a few minutes to center myself and think about what color I'm going to pull from first. And in this case, so I'm going to start making things. And if I stop talking, forgive me. It's hard to talk and create at the same time, but I'll do my best. So I'm just going to start, and I'm starting with this deep blue. And as I am working, I'm really just sort of trusting both the color that I choose and where I want those shapes to go. There's not an image in my mind that I'm trying to recreate. I'm just trying to capture this feeling. And so I just start moving forward with making shapes and colors. And really the only sort of guidance I'm giving myself is this initial palette that I've chosen. Mhm. I'm noticing that, uh, so this is a great moment, like artistic thinking moment. So my idea in my head was to have this palette to choose from, right? So this gray, this blue, and the orange that I've used so far. And I'm looking at these green and the lighter blue and thinking, if I hadn't had that idea ahead of time, I wouldn't pull those right now. It feels like awkward to pull those into what I'm making now. I can't really explain that, but I just I wanted to recognize that as an artistic moment where you have this idea in your head, but it may not fit with what you're actually making. So I'm not going to use those colors. I'm going to trust that. And I'm going to bring in some white to blend this a little bit. And then I have also, and I've really been liking using colored pencils. And this actually might be a moment where I bring in a little bit lighter blue. And I love the contrast between the oil pastel and the pencil. I think it's really cool. And again, these things that I can't necessarily explain, like this, I don't know why I love to draw and paint together, but it's definitely something that I find almost necessary. Like it's really hard for me to just paint. I have to have that drawing element in there too.
Jen, I have a question.
Yes, please.
Is the color palette that you identified from your memories and the color palette you've already identifying from where you live now and sort of the resulting drawing that you're working on now, is that something you had in mind before the program started, or is this something you're really developing live with us right now?
Well, I had the idea to do to pull in the memory for this program, and I was thinking about that because of Clyfford Still and his um, drawings that he made late in life that recreated his early 1920s, 1930s drawings, kind of using that memory. And I felt like it was a good way to provide an anchor, you know, instead of just, hey,
Mm-hmm.
use some colors and throw things out. Um, so it is something that I've been thinking about because of this program, but it also is really intriguing to me, and it may be more fruitful to consider that moving forward in my own work. So does that answer your question?
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Thanks.
how are we doing? I'm just kind of diving into this. We're good on questions?
We're good on questions for now. But
Okay.
yeah, if anyone has any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat, or as Jen said, and I'll moderate the chat. Or if you just rather unmute yourself and ask Jen yourself, you can do that too. Some of us might just be mesmerized by watching you draw, Jen.
Okay, well, see, it's the Bob Ross thing. I don't know what happens, but
I have a question, Jen.
yes,
Um,
yes.
If you were doing this in watercolor, would you be
Ooh,
approaching this, what you're doing right now, in the same way?
yes. Yes, except for the nature of the materials are different. So obviously, like the way I would be making marks is going to be different because the inherent quality of watercolor, or if you're using oil paint, whatever. Um, and watercolor really has its own personality. So to be able to follow that is important, I think, to sort of be in tune with each type of material. So maybe in the watercolor, I could see using, again, you kind of are wanting to decide, are you going to fill the space or you're going to have open space? As you can see, I'm using a lot of open space, but with watercolor, you could still make these splotches of color, and then they could sort of be and flow out from initially where you hit the brush. Or you could do a wash and then add color on top of that, you know? So like the same principle, but the materials do dictate a little bit of a different move, if that makes sense.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So these are, I will talk about too, like, these are things that I steal from Clyfford Still all the time, is these techniques that he uses, which are these small bits of color that are become very incremental, but so critical to the overall success of the painting or drawing. And it's I love just adding a smidge of something that's kind of unexpected, and then watching how the drawing changes. Because you can see even just that little bit of yellow, like it makes everything change. I mean, at least in my opinion, but I feel like certainly the technique that I have been using recently with a lot of open space allows for you to focus in on what the shapes are and the colors and how they interact. And each person can do this so differently, you know. If we look at, and if you guys are following along doing this exercise, everybody's going to be so different as to how this looks. So mm.
Jen, we have another question from the chat for you.
Yeah, go for it.
How do you know when you want to take this idea to a larger scale? I know you work on bigger canvas or paper, but when does that happen in your process?
Yeah, well, that is a great question, because I'm just about to explore that very question, because I've been doing these small works during quarantine, and it has really helped me build some ideas for the future, but I don't know how it's going to go. I'm so curious to see what's going to happen when I think I do want to bring this to a larger scale painting. And so that is to be determined. I'll let you know. May have to go back to drawing. I don't know, but I'm hoping that it's going to be cool, you know. So okay, I think I'm going to be done. And when I'm finished with the drawing, I have been dating them, just right down here in the corner, and I think that this has just been such a wonderful practice for me to do these daily drawings, and I really encourage you to, if you feel inspired, to take on this activity as well. It's going to look totally different for you as far as what kind of shapes you make, how. I mean, you could make this with collage. You could, you know, tear out old recycled paper and glue it onto a square, or you could do just pencil and pen. I mean, really, you could do anything. It could be so small or a little bit bigger, but there's something about making this one a day, just make it and be done, that really seems to record and capture the mood of that moment. And now I have this whole series of drawings that I've made since, I guess it started in April, I think, maybe the end of March. And it's amazing to look back, and each one is different. Every day is different. So I think it can be a really cool practice. So I would love to open it up to either questions, or if people are interested in sharing things that they made, or yeah.
That's great, Jen. Let's see if we have any takers. Oh, there
I
we
know
go.
you have
Margot. Can you see Margot's screen, Jen?
Oh, awesome. Yay.
And
I love
Lenny,
it.
we missed Lenny.
I
Yeah.
saw Lenny, and
Okay.
I'm trying to, how do I like scroll?
There should be just a little like carrot arrow at the bottom.
Oh yeah. Oh yes, I see Grace.
Grace.
Beautiful. Awesome. So great. Margot, I see you now again. Can you hold yours up again? Hi, Margot. Oh, so cool. Don't you love how everybody's is so different?
Yeah.
I just think that's amazing. Just in that, I think it's so amazing that you really just are capturing a part of who you are. So.
Well, Jen, I have to say I've loved seeing your daily drawings pop up in your Facebook feed since quarantine. And
thank you.
I think you may have inspired some folks to start this practice too.
Yay! It will be wonderful.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. So, and if you guys feel so inspired, you can always post your pictures, your daily drawings, and with the hashtag Still Inspired, or tag us at Still Museum. So thank you so much, everybody, for participating and joining along. It's wonderful.
Thank you so much, Jen. It was such a treat
Yay.
to see you work and create the drawings that I love so much.